I'm going to call this select board meeting of September, I wish it was August, September 3rd to order. Welcome everyone, and can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just have a small remark to make. Last Tuesday, we were all saddened by the news that Entergy was going to close its doors in the fall of 2014. Many of us have friends that work at Vermont Yankee that will be moving out of our community because they'll go somewhere else for jobs. But unfortunately, there will be many Vermonters who won't have jobs somewhere else, have ties to the community. They just can't leave. Their families are here, admin people, maintenance people. Some of them are going to make the decision to not leave, and I hope that we can all group ourselves together to help those people through this time. I also want to remind everyone that we all live in Vernon because it's a unique town. And as sad as this news is, and as heartbreaking as it is that we're going to lose our friends, we will go on because we're Vernon. And I'm always reminded of why I live here. A couple days ago, I was driving home, and there's an elderly gentleman that lives in town on my way home. And he has a real hard time walking, and he has a dog that has as much a hard time walking as he does. And I watch almost daily. You see one of his neighbors go to his house and take his dog for a walk because it's too difficult for him to do it. That's Vernon. And that's the community we will continue to be. This is going to be a very difficult time in the next 6 months to a year for all of us. I know people are panicked about budget issues and jobs, but we will get through it. We will do what needs to be done to make the town whole without destroying some of the services that we pride ourselves in having here in this town. We're a unique community, and we will continue to be a unique community. We're all in this together. So I would like to ask people who I know are watching tonight, because everybody's concerned about what's going to happen, let's just remember our neighbors, and let's be there to help, because it's what we do. And on a lighter note, we have some very special guests with us here tonight. The Girl Scouts are here to talk to us about an energy program that they're developing. And I want you to know I was a Girl Scout a few years ago.
Me too.
So there's only 3 seats up here, but why don't we try to come up? Oh, there's only 3. Perfect. Look at that.
We'll coach if we have to.
Okay. Well, thank you, girls, very much for being here, and more importantly, thank you very much for thinking about how to help our community. It's a wonderful thing for you to be doing. So what do you have to tell us tonight?
We are working on Get Moving journey. We have learned so much about the use of energy. We assessed energy consumption, the Advent Christian Church, and the town office building.
And you did a great job.
The town is already changing the light bulbs and restructuring the entrance. The need we heard about was the need to use the town bus by town members.
We would like to help by creating a postcard-type flyer to promote the use of the bus by town residents. We would help with mailing. Would the town be willing to provide us with addresses for every residence in Vernon, and we could use the town's bulk mailing rate to send them?
I think we might even have an easier way to do it, okay? If you do your flyer, why don't the ones who most recently had campaign flyers.
If you go to the post office, they will give you a special bulk rate for something called Every Door Direct Mail. And all you have to do, and I'll help you do it if you like, you just check the zip codes and the postal areas that in Vernon that you want the flyer to go to. It's got to be full sheet of paper size, though. It can't be a postcard size. And
Has to be on cardstock.
yes, has to be on like cardstock rather than, cheesy paper. And you just take it to the post office, you count it out in bundles of 50, take it to the post office, and they deal with the whole thing for you, and it costs $155. Yes.
So you'll make your flyer on the front, you'll put everything you want to say on your flyer. On the flip side, it'll say postal patron. Now, the big job you're going to have to do, and Mrs. Rasmussen and I have had to do it a couple of times for mailings, is you got to count out in 3 different groups, because we have 3 mailing groups here in Vernon. So you'll have to count out the different groups, and then you bring it to the post office and they will mail it for you.
The last thing we would like to do is to create a YouTube video that would be linked to the town website.
That would be
Oh, great.
That would be very
Yes.
good. And I think you could even have a spot on the website so you can keep updated news as to what the Girl Scouts are doing on the website at all times. How would you like that? So people could go on our website, and if they say, oh, you know, I think I'd like to be a Girl Scout, or I'd like to know what the Girl Scouts are doing, they can push into that link and they'll find out all your current news. Because remember how when we had the town newspaper, you used to have Girl Scout news, and now we don't have the town newspaper, so you can't do that anymore. But you can keep that updated on the website. Would you like that?
Ah, that's awesome. And we should have it up in another couple of weeks, but we'll have the website guy get in touch with you all, and you can tell him what you want on it.
And then you could work to update if you go on a trip, or you do something and you want to write a little essay about your trip. You can do that, and it can be put on the website, and people can see what you're doing. You can even put your faces on if you want.
Oh, yeah, but a video would be great too, wouldn't it?
It would be
That'd be
awesome.
wonderful.
I don't think we need to take a vote on this.
I don't
think we're all in agreement that what you're doing is a very good thing.
Oh,
We really
yeah.
thank you and appreciate your hard work. So you're all set? Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming tonight. Now you gotta go home and get your dress.
Do you want a motion for us to pay for it?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we allow the Girl Scouts to use our partial post, if you will, and also let the town pay for it.
It's been moved and seconded that we allow the Girl Scouts to use our partial post and to pay for it. Now, I understand that the Girl Scouts have done fundraising to pay for the mailing, but they've worked very, very hard, and I'm sure there's other things that they can use the money that they fundraised for.
That's the goal of this, is that we pay for the project.
Oh, so you have to pay for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I'll rescind my motion then.
Well, we'll help you some other time then, okay?
Well, you know, you have helped immensely already, let me tell you. So I think we're good.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Come and visit us again, okay? So cute. Okay, Aaron, come on up.
Thank you. That's a tough act to follow.
Sure is.
So my name's Aaron Hurst. I'm technically with the Vermont Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation. But I was sent here as a delegate from the Springfield Stewardship Team, which represents Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation, Fish and Wildlife. Tonight's agenda is to talk about Roaring Brook Wildlife Management Area. It's 1,400 acres, most of it's in the town of Vernon. And we have a couple of proposals that we wanted to run by the town. The first, and perhaps the most controversial subject is a small land swap between the Merritts, Dale Merritt and Josh Merritt at the end of West Road, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And did you guys receive a map of this?
No.
Okay.
We only have this.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Maybe you just want to pass that around. The red portions are current state ownership. There are 2 small inholdings in Dale Merritt's farm. The blue portion is the piece that we will be swapping the 2 red portions for. I think it's 36 acres that will come to the state and 28 acres that will go to the Merritts. There's a couple of different reasons for this. One is that the boundary lines of the state parcel are not clear. And when the state acquired this land back in the 60s, with the interstate. It was never properly surveyed out, and nobody's really paid any attention to it. In this transaction, the state will also get a management right-of-way at the end of West Road, which we, from recent court battles, was decided that that was not a town road. So we will get management access. That is not public access. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. We are asking for the town's permission to take this to the legislature, because this cannot happen internally. It needs to be accepted by the commissioner and gone through the legislative process. If there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those at this point in time.
Does anybody have any questions?
Is there a lot spent in tax revenue on the property in the swap?
No, the merits are in current use, and the net change will be roughly 8 acres. So it's negligible.
Any limited access? Is there going to be any limited access to town people, town residents that are made during the swap?
There is no public access on that road at this point in time, at all. And the state doesn't even have access. So every time we want to go up that road, we need to get written permission from the parents. And we have been doing that for 40 years, since we've owned the property.
And so with the swap, there'll be no liability occurred by the town?
No. No.
You said it was controversial. Can you say why it's controversial?
Well, the merits have been approached by several people and the public to allow access on that road. And it was, it came to a head with a adjacent landowner.
But they have no problem with what?
No, the merits are on board with this. In fact, they suggested this to us about 40 years ago and said, we really want to clear up our boundary lines too.
The
So
wheels of
it's
the
a-
state move very slowly.
Yeah, very slowly, as long as I've been alive. And it's a win-win for everybody, and Dale and Josh are on board. Dale sends his regrets. He was supposed to be here tonight, but something came up with it. So, what we would like is something written, if you approve, saying that, yes, the town agrees with this potential swap and move forward. And I have a sample letter from Jane Lazorchek, who is the Fish and Wildlife. She wrote you a letter, I believe, or I forwarded a letter. And she has a sample letter of support that I will submit to you guys if you choose to use this format.
Can we sign it, have the chairman sign it
Yeah.
tonight, and you take it back with you, or
Technically, we kind of
We
need
need to
on-
mail it
Probably
in.
has to be on Vernon.
letterhead? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
not
would
a
be
problem.
great. And I can also submit my, you can mail it to me, and I'll submit my business card as well. If that's the right one, yep.
I'm gonna give that to Katrina, because she's the one who'll be doing the mailing. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Need a motion?
With the swap of the land, will
She needs to
public be
sign that,
gaining
Katrina.
any access to the land after you acquire it? Or will it still be closed off to the public?
The public will not
Give it back to me, I'll have her sign it.
have public
I'm gonna
access
type
on
it
West
up on
Road
Vernon letterhead.
because of the swap. What we will be able to get is management
idea.
access
Yeah.
from the state to do timber sales, wildlife habitat improvement. There's a couple of rare species that we really want to keep an eye on.
And you said timber sales,
Timber sales, yes.
so the land will be opened up to the state agency for mining of our forests and wood.
It'll be open for wildlife habitat improvement.
Oh,
Yep. As it is currently. We just can't get there.
yeah.
Yeah, right. But this, if we're all,
Need a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the transfer of parcels between Fish and Wildlife and Dale and Josh Muir.
Second.
Is It's been moved and seconded to approve the transfer of land between Fish and Wildlife and Dale and Josh Merritt. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also, I'd like to make a motion that we allow you to go ahead and sign it after Katrina prints it on Vernon letterhead.
Been moved and seconded to allow the chair to sign the letter after it's been printed on town letterhead. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The second issue that I'm here about is, gets to your question about public access. The only legal public access that we have to this property is Ad Brooks Road. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ad Brooks Road. You probably are.
Yep,
It is a rough road.
it is.
And what I propose, or what we propose, is to not necessarily upgrade the road, but at least allow the public to have a parking area on the wildlife management area. And this is our only opportunity to do it at this point in time. So what I want to do is at the end of Ad Brooks Road, I would like to develop a small 3-car parking lot. The problem with that is that I don't know if you guys want to encourage use of that road, because it's in such rough shape, and I don't know whether you guys put any money into that road.
No,
I think it's a class 4,
it is,
all the way to the state line,
It
in
is.
fact, a little bit beyond.
it is.
And we're certainly not going to be able to maintain that road in a condition that's very good. However, people use, yes.
No, go ahead.
People do use the road. They do access the wildlife management area through that road. And we can provide a little bit of money from time to time, I'm not gonna say an annual budget, to do some maintenance to the road. I have a little bit of money right now to put a culvert in, add some gravel, a couple days of excavator time. But it's not a long-term solution to public access. That being said, people do use it, and we might want to make it a little easier.
Well, there's a business that's operating off that road.
Okay.
And so you are going to put a culvert there. That would improve it a lot, right at the base, am I correct?
No.
As you, right from West Road on to Adbrook Road, it would be at the other end?
Yeah, it would be up near the sugar house.
Okay,
There's a
so-
little dip there.
How, and that's where your parking lot's gonna be,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay?
But I think the key part of it is, once you do that, we have to maintain it.
It's if they put the culvert down on the bottom. If they put a culvert down at the bottom, is if I remember my history correctly, then that road would have to be maintained. That's why I was kind of wondering if that's
Right.
where you meant or not.
No, I did not intend to replace that culvert or bridge or whatever it is. I mean,
It's just a
no.
small bridge.
Okay. No, that was not in the game plan. There's just a huge dip where it goes, where a small seasonal stream
Right,
goes over some rocks now. And I was just gonna dump a culvert in that just so you could get up there a little easier. Yeah, we don't have any plans to upgrade that road significantly.
okay.
And obviously the landowners will be involved. I haven't contacted them yet. But I wanna make sure that they're okay with it too.
So would we.
Yeah.
I just have a problem, I mean, with what we're dealing with this week, taking on any expense that we have no idea what it's gonna be, you know?
It won't be advertised.
Yeah, I mean, I love people to be able to have access to these areas, but if you said we're going to do a little bit of light repair of the road and keep it up, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But you're saying we're gonna do a little light repair to the road, and then it's gonna be the town's dime to keep it up.
Right, and put in a parking lot too at
Right.
the end.
The parking lot will.
Well, that's up in on their property.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's on state property.
Right, and Bill has his,
Yeah, I know, you were talking about, I didn't wanna interrupt you.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I know that the person that has the business there they have a hard time getting up in there in the wintertime and in the spring. And they park at the bottom end at West Road. So there's a spot there for 3 or 4 cars to be able to park as well.
Bill, you had something to add?
Yes, my question is, where the road kind of wise, I think that's where you're thinking of the culvert, and you can go up to the right, you just passed the Sugar House,
Mhm.
and then the road kind of wide, you can go curve and go up, and that goes up into this field that the Renaissance owns.
Mhm.
And then if you go to the left, that, to me, would be the Ad Brooks Road that keeps going. To my knowledge, we have to ask permission, there's no right-of-way crossing Lyons property there. We have to ask permission as listers to use that.
My interpretation of the town road maps indicate that the road does wide right at that sugar house, but the road bears right onto the state property.
Okay.
And that field that you're talking about, that's on state property.
That whole field?
Yep.
So the Renaissance group that was gonna do something there, has that been sold to the state then, or?
No, there's been no recent acquisitions.
No, this was a few years ago.
Okay. To my knowledge, there has been no, that has been state ownership for, when we originally got the property. That small field past the sugar house on the right.
Okay.
The boundary line's the stone wall that crosses, right about where that culvert's going in.
Right, because this is, when, I'm trying to think of the guy's name that bought that piece up there, he bought quite a few acres, and he did a lot of clearing, so maybe we're not talking the same field. You're talking a little field that's right where you make the Y, there's a little clearing right there.
Yeah,
Because that's usually where we park,
yeah,
and then if we take the road to the left, we get permission.
yeah.
And that, to my knowledge, was Ad Brooks Road, and that's the one that goes all the way down and connects it to West Road. The other one, I haven't taken, you're saying that one may connect to it somewhere?
Well, I have a map of the road system. I don't believe that the Ad Brooks Road, I think it dead ends on state property. And it's the road to the right. If you go straight at that sugar house, that's all private land.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
right. It's my assumption, and I will figure this out for sure before we do anything, is that the town road bears to the right at that Y, and it goes on the state land,
Okay,
past the sugar house.
thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Do you have any idea what the cost would be to keep that road up?
I have a fairly good idea.
I somehow thought you would.
Yeah, and it's in rough shape, and it will always be in rough shape. That's just the reality of that road. I mean, unless you're willing to dump 20 grand into it a year.
And that's my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have
We
to,
don't have,
yeah, we don't have to
Yeah.
go.
And I'm not asking for the road to be upgraded.
you just, but we would have to keep it up once you upgrade.
No,
Not necessarily, it would be
No.
in the same state that it is now.
yeah, as long as we do not bring it down to a different class of road,
Right.
as long as
it
it's
stays
left.
class 4.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I want to be able to do is just get people legally onto the WMS. Now, there's a whole nother issue of whether we can actually do that, because that road is in such bad shape that getting dump trucks with material up there could be a problem.
You grade it for us first.
What's that?
You could always grade it for us first before you put it in the car.
Well, I mean, that might be an option,
Yeah.
is to just temporarily put a bulldozer on it and bring things back, bring the ditches back, and then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how far away are you?
How far away am I
Yeah,
from
from here?
myself, my
Do you live in
home, my
Springfield?
residence? No, I live in Guilford.
Oh, so, could you come back?
Sure.
So we, you know, when we have more information, I mean, it's, I think we're all kind of reeling right now, so it's really hard for us to make any financial decisions that actually cost more money. We're thinking of all the financial decisions that we have to make that save money.
I understand.
So, you know, and it sounds like, you know, you really need to do a little bit more exploring before we make a decision anyway, so.
Mhm.
I hate to inconvenience you, but if you wouldn't mind coming back.
No, it's not a big deal.
Are you asking for money from us?
No,
No.
no, I got,
So it shouldn't cost us
No,
anything.
but his point was, he's gonna grade their, not he, he's gonna have the road graded.
Right.
But then the town will have to keep up the road.
No.
no
No.
more than what you are now.
Oh, see, I heard you say that it'll be up to the town.
Only-
You could help every once in a while, but you wouldn't have money all the time to upgrade.
Oh, no.
No, we're not asking the town for any money. We're asking the town for permission to use the road to build a parking area.
Oh, okay.
And when we have money, we will do whatever we can.
Okay. I'm hearing dollar signs.
Yeah, I
Right.
understand, I
Right.
understand. And it's rare, I'll tell you the truth, it's rare when the state has any money to do anything. This is a federal grant right now that we're working on, and it's not a lot of money. So, in all, I have about $8,000 to spend, and as you know, that roadwork can eat up $8,000 in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
But, you know, I'll put in this parking area, and, you know, line it with rocks and, you know, put in a culvert, and the road will be temporarily upgraded. But it'll be in the same condition as it is now in a couple of years.
Motion.
I think, unless you want to make a motion, right?
No,
I
I'll
kinda
tell
like-
David first.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, and I'm sorry, I don't want to inconvenience you,
No, it's
but
no problem at all.
I just.
My intention was to talk to your road foreman
yeah,
first anyway.
yeah.
Make
Yeah,
sure.
because if I remember correctly, wasn't there even a talk of, like, putting the, like a cul-de-sac right there, or turnaround for the buses and for the plows and stuff like that, because we couldn't go beyond a certain point to even plow because of all that other stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
there
it's,
was.
yeah, I think I'm with Sandy and you. I'd rather wait
Absolutely.
and
You
talk
don't
with
even
David
really have to come to another meeting.
No.
You could have a conversation with David.
and have him
and-
come.
and,
Sure.
Just call
I mean,
you.
there's another option of, and I didn't realize you guys were in the works, but, you know, there is the option of partnering with the town to build a parking area down at the bottom of Bad Bricks Road,
Mhm.
and having it be a foot access.
We kind of like the one where the state's paying all the money.
Well, if you want to build us a turnaround there, because we were thinking of that.
That was a few years ago when we had school bus issues, but we don't have them anymore.
Well, plow too,
Plow
because you
too,
can't
that's
plow
right.
any beyond a certain point anymore.
Right,
So,
right,
and the plows need to turn around somewhere, and so
sure.
maybe you could come up with some money for that.
We might be able to partner with you.
See,
Yeah.
now that would be something you could talk with David about, because that's, I know that was a concern, because they couldn't go beyond a certain point anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the classification of the road beyond.
Yeah.
And,
How sandwiched in there are we between the river or the brook and the opposite bank? That's what I'm kind of curious about what kind of space, but we can talk about that.
yeah,
And
David would
can
know.
help with that stuff better
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
than we can.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, well, you know how to contact me,
Okay.
so.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
you.
I really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for putting me on the agenda.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Okay, I need a motion to waive the bid process, to allow the we need to ratify waiving the bid process to allow the rec department to put in the new water heater. The water heater went the day before, last Monday, a week ago yesterday. And needed to be replaced because they didn't have any hot water to do everything they needed to close the pool. So we had to make an immediate decision, so we waived the bid process and allowed for the money to be taken out of the emergency fund to repair the hot water heater, and it was under $5,000, but that's not.
Oh, I know it was 48.
Sally would
Sally might know.
Perfect timing. Sally, do you know what the exact cost was for the repair of the hot water heater at the pool? 40.
This, right, this one?
The one that just, yeah.
No, I think it was around four, I don't know. 'Cause
Was-
Seth had told me it was gonna cost more and then it
It's
came
supposed to
in at
cost
4,000,
55 and,
I think.
yeah.
Came up to
that's
48.
So let's say under 45. Let's
No,
say-
it was 48, I think.
Okay,
They're pretty
let's
close
say
to
under 5,000 to cover ourselves.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we ratify the waiving of the bid process for the repairs and purchase of the water heater at the town recreation area, and for the sum of less than $5,000, the monies to come from the emergency fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the approval of replacing the water heater at the rec center for under $5,000 and to approve using the emergency fund to pay for it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, emergency management. Annette, you're on.
Well,
First of all, I'd like to thank you for reacting so quickly last week as a health officer when that
Oh,
water
yeah.
pipe down on 142 was found to be contaminated. We actually got a report from a citizen and handed it over to our health department, and Annette had it retested to make sure that they were using a sterile container to put the water in. And then the water did retest as, what was it,
Mega E. coli and coliform. The first test just showed coliform, and my test showed both E. coli and coliform.
So they hurried up and had signage put out there and stuff, but, you know, I would like to publicly warn people against using that pipe. Sometimes we see a sign and don't pay a lot of attention, but you can get very sick from drinking that water. So thank you very much for being so quick to react.
Can I just say a couple more words about that?
The water, please come up.
Thank you. I've been on this, riding this horse of that watering trough for years, and
Nope, he's
Nope.
that next to over, you're fine.
and an interesting fact that I didn't know is that you can become desensitized to coliform. And coliform comes from, E. coli is, to be really professional, poop.
We knew that.
But coliform can come from decaying matter, and it's not as virulent as E. coli. My thing is that there's a big sign down there that says, caution, this water has not been tested, and please boil or chemically disinfect before drinking. So, which makes sense, except for that if I have heard it once, I've heard it, and I'm not exaggerating, over the years, at least 50 to 100 times. My family's been doing it for 3 generations. Well, you can be desensitized to coliform. That doesn't mean it's good for you long term. That means that you don't get virulently sick. E. coli, however, if you have let's say a baby that's not infant, you know, that you're no longer, making sterile formula for, but it's really dangerous, and I've been saying it for years, nobody listens, but I think we dodged a bullet this time, because it was loaded. I mean, this was a lot of E. coli. And, you know, people had been telling me, and I wanted to get it done before the Labor Day weekend, because it was, it takes 24 hours to incubate this. So I knew that people were going camping, and so that it was probably gonna get more use rather than less, in advance of the Labor Day weekend. So, anyway, I think we dodged a bullet. I'm going to talk to Lane tomorrow. I'm not quite sure why that's there. I mean, I know that somebody told me today that when we widened the road to Vernon, that was a big deal, that they wanted to keep that watering hole there.
It was
Was
a
it
big
really?
deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going, why? I mean, there's even there's a lane, kind of, so that
Oh,
you
yeah,
can-
the nice, big, pretty parking lot right there.
It's also a great place for the cruiser.
I
It does
would-
slow people
I
down
would
up there.
know. Anyway, so you're more than welcome, and I'm glad that we caught that. The emergency management hat, I think I sent
Yes.
you all emails. I think it's fairly clear. It's just a rerun of the last 3 years, because we haven't asked for any monies above and beyond the basic operating expenses of the emergency operations center.
And I'd like to remind everybody who's hearing the word money, this is paid for out of what we in Montpelier call the RERP budget. It's radiological. Help me here, Annette. It's been a long time since I've said it.
I was sitting there going, what the EPV means this morning? I have no brain.
Anyway, it's a budget that Vermont
The
Yankee has to pay the
radiological
state
program.
money, and that money gets filtered down to the towns to run their emergency management program. So this is 100% Vermont Yankee money.
This is not state.
So, well, no, it's not town money,
Town
which is
money,
what we're more
right.
concerned about. So we need a motion to approve the signing. You need it signed, right?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Oh, here it is.
Is it
It's
on?
been moved and seconded to,
This is on that.
yeah, it's right here.
She's got
Right here where it says authorization.
No, there's another page with your name right in front.
right in the front.
Oh. Okay.
She knew that.
I guess I have to do this.
Checking to see if I read it.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the form authorizing the budget for the emergency management program here in Vernon. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Bill. Listers. Do you want executive session for this? No? Okay.
This is my executive session
Thanks.
And I have copies if you want the secretary to have it. Basically, the Board of Listers, we just want to encourage you that we got a lot of things to be thinking about with Vermont Yankee closing, and that we feel that we need to get some people together to start formulating what's going to be done for the town, and these are just suggestions, and drop it in your lap. Just wanted-
Thank you for this, but I want you to know that, the select board has already started reacting. Number one, we had a post-BUI committee that has been set up a few months ago. We have, and I will be talking to the rest of the select board, but we're breaking off into groups. We're gonna have one group who's gonna look at our surrounding towns and what our surrounding towns offer, what employees they have, what kind of benefits they offer their employees, what kind of services they offer the taxpayer. We're gonna look at, that group's gonna be broken off. There is a tax committee group that already deals with Vermont Yankee and will continue to deal with Vermont Yankee. And I will say that when I got a call at 8:30 Tuesday morning to tell me that Vermont Yankee was closing, the first thing that I was told is Entergy is aware of what's going to happen to the town, and there is a contingency plan already being set up by Entergy to deal with the town of Vernon. As you know, I've spent a lot of years developing a relationship with a lot of these people, so we can try to minimize what's going to happen here in town. We do have a plan about real estate and how to try to bring people in to buy the houses we have, and how to market outside. You know, when you look around here in Vermont, there's not a lot going on in Vermont as far as businesses coming in. So there's not a lot of new people moving to this area that are going to buy some of the kind, especially the higher end houses that will be up for sale. So we're going to market our town, and we're going to try to go outside of our area to bring people in. There's a lot of people who would love to live in Vermont. We're located in an ideal place. We're close to Boston. We're close to New York City. You can take a bus from New York City up here. It's a great place to have a second home. Second home buyers are wonderful because they don't use any of the services, but they do pay the taxes. So we've got a lot of these things in the works. And I have been meeting with people around to try to help us. Chris Campney from Wyndham Regional has reached out to us. We're going to be bringing him to another meeting. I am aware that there are tax issues. We're going to be dealing with Entergy. I'm hoping that they'll re-sign their contract for one more year. I don't know if that'll happen, but certainly there's dry cast storage there, and there may be a building there that will stay there for a little while. So all of that will be taxed. Right now, Vermont Yankee pays $1.3 million. I'm hoping at the end of the day that they're still paying $600,000 or $700,000 in taxes, and that minimizes what we have to lose as far. And we are aware, I've already set it up so that we're going to meet with the school board. We're going to talk about issues at the school. There's 30 students that may potentially be leaving depending on what their parents decide to do. So if there's a decline in enrollment, obviously there'll be changes made at the school. I was going to contact the library and talk to the library about how we can work with budgets there. We have healthcare issues that we're going to be dealing with tonight. So believe me, our wheels have been spinning, and we're not sitting back and waiting for something to happen to us. I mean, we've really been prepared for this for a long time. We've known for a long time someday we would lose Vermont Yankee. We'd all hoped it would be 20 years from now.
Right.
But we also, as a community, are going to have to talk about Safe Store, because Safe Store means that the plant shuts down and it sits there for 65 years. Federal law allows that.
Right.
But do we as a town want to say, hey, we don't want that to happen? Obviously, the spent fuel will stay there in the dry cast storage because there's no place to put it. But the federal government has gotten billions of dollars from the nuclear industry because it was their job to find where, and I know I'm spinning this around, but I want you to know we're not just kind of sitting back waiting for things to happen to us. Federal government has received billions of dollars from the nuclear industry to get rid of the nuclear fuel from these sites. The nuclear industry is suing the federal government right now because they haven't done their job. How much of that can we jump on and say to the feds, hey, you know, we're a host town here. Our nuclear power plant is closed. We still have to keep security. We still have to maintain our roads because people are going to be coming in and out, especially now with big vehicles. So, you know, the federal government's going to have to buck up and help pay. So as I said, all of this has been in the works. I've had very little sleep, as you can tell, because I haven't stopped talking since you stood up.
I didn't say that.
You know, as I said when I started tonight, you weren't here yet, but Vernon's a wonderful town, and it's going to stay a wonderful town. We have a lot of options. We're not going to close up our sidewalks and bury ourselves in a hole. We're going to survive. We're going to make this work for us, and we're going to do it in a way that we're keeping what's wonderful about Vernon intact. If you want people to come to your community, you have to have a good, healthy, strong school. We still have high school choice, which, thank God, our ancestors before us had the foresight to write that into the contract with Wyndham, with WSESU, because that is a huge bonus for anybody who wants to educate their children outside the public school system, and there's a lot of people that want to do that. We have to maintain at least a decent rec department, because that, again, is a draw to families. But we have to do it in a way that these programs become more self-sustainable, so that the people who use the programs are paying for the programs, the people who don't have the burden. So you know, definitely we need to meet with the listers. Skip Sansucci needs to be part of this, but we need to reach out to, we need to meet with Vermont Yankee. We need to see what they're thinking before, you know, I mean, I don't want to put my war hat on and say, this is going to be, you know, and I know that's not what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm
I've gotten calls from people all over the country this week saying, oh, you don't want to do this, and yes, you might want to do that. This is our problem, and we are going to solve it the way we solve our problems within our community.
Well, my wife's been loading me down with information, there's quite a few plants that have actually closed. So we're looking into that, and we just want to make sure that, because what doesn't happen this year, but next year, what's going to happen, and any agreements that we have with BY and with the state got their hand on a piece of pie. We want to make sure there's a piece of pie left for the town.
Absolutely.
And that, one thing about our town, and the one thing I like about Skip Sansucci, is he's fair. And that's what we want, what's fair for the town, what's fair for Mtg. Most important, that the long-range effect that we're going to be making decisions on, maybe not this year, but next year, is going to be 100 years.
Absolutely.
So,
65 anyway.
No, I just want to make sure that different ones are on board with that.
Yeah, and you know we've got our work cut out for us.
Right.
And there's a lot that needs to be done, and it's very important that everyone works together right now.
Right.
Everyone.
Yeah,
And we will do that.
Is that what we're doing tonight, give them permission to continue the
No,
way?
I'm just
Okay.
presenting these ideas, and,
Because I want to read this over really good
Stimulate
before I
your
go,
mind, right.
oh, okay.
okay?
All right, thank
Yeah.
you very
Thank you.
much, Bill.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Okay, auditors aren't here, so let's go to the approval of minutes.
Well, I didn't see anything. Yeah, wherever they are.
Madam Chair, I
Yeah.
make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we need to approve the minutes for the meeting with BLCT because we're all here?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't think
I
so.
don't think, it was an employee meeting.
Right.
We've got minutes, but I don't think we need to.
No,
Yeah, I
and
didn't
they.
warn it as a special select board meeting, it was just that you were attending
Yeah.
the.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
that's
Yeah.
right, you did, okay.
Yeah,
And those minutes are upstairs anyway.
we do have them, and we
Yeah.
have extra copies of the disc if anybody wants those as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually would like one because you know, you get thrown a lot of information when you're dealing with that
I can put one
stuff.
in each one of your boxes.
Oh, that'd be great, thank you. Because
you.
I got lost about halfway through. and
I
trying
took
to
plenty
take
of,
notes
I
and-
took plenty of notes, you know.
Oh, that'd be great, Katrina, thank you.
Okay. Bills and warrants.
Madam Chair. I'll move
Wait a minute, I gotta find mine. Let me
Yeah, I
find my
don't-
cheat sheet before we go on to that.
Following bills and warrants, number 5, SG accounts payable, $53,275.28. Number 34S payroll, $15,112.01. Number 35S payroll, $19,212.50.
Second, sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and pay warrants 5 SG accounts payable for $53,275.28. 34S payroll for $15,112.01. And 35S payroll for $19,212.50. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to actually go into executive session to talk about the insurance contract. because that is a personnel issue, and I don't think that we really want to be talking a lot about some of the
It's because individual names will be
individual
used.
names are gonna be mentioned, so, does anybody have anything?
I was told that we have a fund that we've been putting money aside so that when BY closes that it'll help the town. And so, so I was looking through our book for a town meeting and I couldn't find anything.
I think what you're talking about is the capital plan.
Okay.
And the
thank you.
capital
I
plan
also didn't know what it was called.
started in 19...
Yeah, but that's for capital projects. That's
Right,
not
well,
a-
I was going to finish that,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
let me finish. The capital plan started in the late 90s, mid-90s?
No.
I can't remember. Time goes
I
by
was
so
treasurer
fast.
in
Maybe
the
it was early
80s, so
90s.
it was
Okay,
way back
so
then.
anyway, everything always seems like it was just last year.
Yeah.
But the capital plan is saving for big equipment that's going to need to be purchased in the future. So when we need a dump truck, or we need a grader, or like the cruiser is on the capital plan. So all of those big things, it's not to shore up budgets because we find a shortfall. That's not what this is for. So we know Entergy's closing, we know we're going to have to tighten our budgets. You can't take money out of the capital plan to do that. Now, we do have some funds that have been, we're going to, as a select board, look at all of the funds we have, because that's part of this process of cutting, is to look at everything we have. But a lot of those monies have been raised for certain areas and have to stay in that area, and it will take a vote from the townspeople to change it. What I would like to do is not roll that money over to a pot of gold, but roll whatever extra funds we have around that we, like, for instance, we had the sewer fund for a lot of years. We always knew, well, I guess at one time we hoped we would have, not sewers,
Water
water
and
and
sewer,
sewer, that's
yeah.
right. We hoped someday we would have water and sewer in the town of Vernon. There was never enough money to do it. At one time, the federal government was offering to pay 90% of the cost, and that's when this fund got started. Never raised enough money. It kind of sat there. We used 100 and something thousand for the septic system at the Huckle Hill Elderly Assistance, Elderly Home. Some of that money got rolled in. We extended, yeah, we did.
No, it was up at Sosmo.
Yeah, Sir Sosimo's and Huckle Hill. We used some of the money from Huckle Hill for the septic system.
Really?
Some of the, yeah, I remember doing it. But anyway, we used it to extend the Brattleboro's waste management program to the town line, or just past the town line. And there's still some money in that fund. We'll never have a sewer and water system here in the town of Vernon. It's, number one, it's difficult to do because of the way Vernon is built anyhow. So some of those monies can be rolled over into something, but they're not going to be rolled over to keep programs going. We're going to look at the programs that we have and what we can afford into the future, and how we need to handle our future budgets.
So
So we're not putting Band-Aids with any of these
Yeah,
funds.
when it was said to me this money was going to be put aside to help buffer taxes when they're going to go up for people, that's hogwash, but. fine.
Well,
So
no,
I
in
do-
some ways it's not, because we are someday going to need a dump truck. We are someday going to need equipment, so when we have to buy that
And I'm
stuff.
talking about writing a check for personal tax, a dump truck. I mean, it's, but I understand what you're saying, but anyway, I was told incorrectly,
Right,
but the heart was in the right place.
right.
When the
There,
person said it.
there is no pot of gold that we can use to work our way out of this problem. The only
Yeah.
thing we can do is look at the services we provide, what they cost,
Okay,
and figure
okay,
out a way from
okay.
there. But the hope is, the capital plan that we now have established will have enough money in it that the next time we have to buy equipment, it can come at,
Right.
it was
I got it.
originally supposed to be built so that all of the interest that was paid within these funds,
Yeah.
we're supposed to grow the funds enough
Right,
that we would
right.
never have to put tax
Yeah.
dollars into the capital plan again in order to be able to buy equipment, which does save tax money, because if you don't have to raise it out of taxes to put it into a
Sure.
fund to buy the equipment, you don't have to raise it.
I got it. Okay, I would like to volunteer my services for some committees somewhere, somehow, to educate myself and to help with the town.
Absolutely.
Great.
We're going to need everyone, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
would like, actually, the Board of Trustees from the library, I know it's your budget, and it has nothing to do with the select board,
Yeah.
but but there are issues that you need to know about that we're dealing with right now. In fact, maybe when we go into executive session on the insurance issue, you might want to stay for a few minutes and be part of the very beginning of our executive session. Because there's, then you can bring to your board, and I'd be happy to go to your board meeting also.
Okay.
But we're all in this together, so it's not this board, and that committee.
Oh, right.
We need to
Oh,
work
yeah.
as a team.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we're not your boss, we're not trying to boss you, we're just trying to say, look at this is what we need to look at. Because if we don't do it, it's gonna be done at town meeting for all of us.
May I say something in regards to her question? There are things through the state that will help you with your taxes right now, depending on your income. I myself receive a rebate from the state against my taxes because of my income dropping. And so if your taxes should go up, and you need qualifications from the state through your homesteading every year, it can drop your taxes also if you meet those qualifications. So there are certain programs, because I'm 50 now,
I had to
you should
respell
apply
it.
for, that will help stabilize some of your taxes.
It's spelled oddly.
No, I don't know if there is besides a homestead, but you've got to look.
That's why it's P-E-R.
There is a property tax rebate
I
that
mean,
is given
R-A.
according to a person's income,
I-A.
but that still isn't gonna bail us out of this. We
No.
still need to look
No,
at
it
all of our
makes us
programs.
It makes
Well,
us
it does for the taxpayer, but there's a lot of people in this town whose taxes,
Yeah.
who don't get prebates, and tax relief from the state. And we need to do everything we can to bring this budget in control. And it's not in control now. We've always known it's not. We've always had money to spend and we've spent it, and we don't have it now, so now we have to be frugal, but we have to be frugal responsibly so that we're still keeping the nature of the town intact.
Yeah, from your end, from the homeowner side, we really need to know about these other programs also. When I first moved here, I didn't receive my prebate when I was first disabled and had those problems. And I thought that some of that information might not be getting out to some of our other seniors or other people that don't apply for those programs.
Well, that's kind of a different discussion than anything that we're discussing here on Select Board tonight, so. Martin?
Yeah, with regard to the question of whether there's there
Bless you.
obviously is not a fund set aside, post-VY tax buffer designation, but, there are, and in the annual report, we do have a lot of funds that,
Absolutely.
compared to just about any other town in Vermont, there
Yes.
is more sort of reserves for this and for that, emergency
it.
capital and sewer and water, and I don't know what they all are without looking at them. There's quite a bit of money, and as you say, most of those, or all of those really, were designated at some town meeting for some specific purpose. Because if the town had extra money and it didn't designate it, then they would have to roll it over to just lower the budget for the next year. So,
So
so
you
the
go to them.
advantage that we have is that we can look at those funds. And anything that the town meeting
Save money.
designated way back when can be undesignated or re-designated to something else. And
Yes.
it's a fabulous resource that the town has that really needs to be part of the planning here.
And I did say, I think, a few minutes ago, that we are going to look at all the funds and figure out what funds have a real need into the future and what funds don't, because there are a lot of them that are just sitting there. And I think Sally would be absolutely thrilled if we got rid of 3/4 of the funds that we have, for her to have to, so. We're in a very good position, because we had people that came before us that had the wherewithal to look at what life was going to be a life without Vermont Yankee. Now, but we do have an awful lot more than, as you know, Martin. And Martin is he is actually going to work. Martin's a member of the post-BY committee that we had set up a while ago, and Martin and Janet are going to look at all of the surrounding towns and what the surrounding towns have for services, what they have for employees, that just compare our town to the towns of our size. Obviously, we're never going to compare ourselves to Brattleboro because we're not Brattleboro, and we're not Putney and Dummerston either, but size-wise, we're comparable to those towns. So we're going to look at what all of these surrounding towns have. Not that at the end of the day, we're gonna look like any other town but Vernon, but we need to know what we're dealing with. And you can only do that if you take all of these steps and educate yourself as to what's going on right now. And I thank you very much, Martin, for, number one, we never knew when we set up that post-BY committee that we'd be, I thought, 5, 6 years from now, we'll be really working hard. I didn't know we'd be doing it in a couple of months, but, and we're all I'm going to, as I said, I've been meeting with a lot of people this week. I'm gonna look at all of our we're gonna split ourselves up and all have different functions because it's the only way we can get the job done fast enough. And we have to get it done this year. But some of those funds, because our capital plan, even though it was well-intentioned, doesn't have the kind of money in it that it was intended to have at the end of this cycle. So it can't really gain enough money and interest to keep itself sustainable. So I'd like to see some of those funds go into that, so that 5 years from now, we don't have to raise $50,000 to buy a dump truck. It's in there, and it's being raised for us with interest. So, but that's a discussion, that's only my opinion. I mean, that's a discussion the select board will have, and
help will cheerfully be accepted.
and in order to change any of those funds, it all has to be brought to the taxpayers. So we have to be able to explain the funds, where they originated, why we have them, and the taxpayer has to make the decision on it. Anybody else before we go into executive session have it? Because I don't want you to have to hang around. So if you have questions, I'd like to.
I've got a question and a comment, and I think it goes along with a lot of where people are coming from here. Shortly after VY came out with the information that they were going to close, and after the third quarter of 2014, WRC came out with a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Excuse me, what's the Wyndham Regional Commission?
Regional Commission.
Okay.
And they've always stated that they're neutral. And I've tried to get in touch with our planning commission, our head planning commissioner, and I sent out an email this afternoon stating my concerns with Wyndham Region.
Mm-hmm.
In what they said and stated, they started off with a bunch of different points that they would like to see VY do. They started out with a request. Then every other point after that, they're requiring VY, and requiring VY, and requiring VY. And I just think that this town needs to pull together, because everyone I've talked to don't like that letter.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the WRC speaks for this town. And they certainly are going to help us. If we're going to talk to VY, and if the post-VY committee is going to set up some sort of a CAP, and trying to negotiate with VY, rather than going to Safe Store to go into DCOM, because from a monetary standpoint and from an employee standpoint, it's a much better way to go. The employees stick around longer, the taxes stay up higher, okay, and of course they go into dry cash quicker, but at the same time, there's a long, elongated period of time they'll go down to 400 employees, and down to 3, then down to 2. Where in Safe Store, just like that, you lose 90% of them.
Yep.
300 I found out today will be gone next October.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think the WRC is doing us any favors. And I just kind of wanted to mention this here. My wife is supposed to bring me copies of their letter, and if you want it, I mean, it's on their website, WRC's website. Read that letter, and it's very derogatory. It doesn't work with our planning commission well. Talking with people in the town, it doesn't work with them well. And if we want to have some sort of a cohesive plan and work together with VY, like I know we do, we don't need that kind of language. And I'm almost thinking that we need to come together, Select Board Planning Commission, the post-VY Commission, and send a letter of rebuttal, both to the state and to the WRC, saying we don't agree with your points.
Well, I think that you know that I've never agreed with Wyndham Regional's points. In fact, they've been to the select board because we don't agree with them. when I testified in front of the Public Service Board, I was told by the attorney for the state that Wyndham Regional is against Vermont Yankee, even though they continuously said that they were not. They're supposed to be, they're supposed to be non-partial. They're supposed to just represent all of us, and they never have. So I do kind of feel like we're in this on our own. But unfortunately, with the way the state is structured, if we apply for any grants to help our, wait a minute, you and I can sit there and say that, David, because we are not losing our jobs. But we have people in this community who are going to lose their jobs, and they're not going to be transferred somewhere else. Not all 630 people, 630 people that work at Vermont Yankee are going to have a job come October. And we have to do everything as a community to help them rebuild their lives. And if I have to swallow a little of my pride, I don't do it often, believe me. I think you all know me well enough to know.
That's shocking.
When I get on my horse, it's hard to get me off. But our job is to save the people in this town. Chris Campy did send me an email today, not with that letter. I have not seen that letter.
Well,
but
no, I got the same one from you, but I think.
oh, that's right, explaining what's
that-
happened in other towns. Now, the difference between what's happening in this town and what's happened in some of the other towns, and I'll use the power plant that closed in Maine as an example, that was on an ocean. So those houses sold real quick because people were coming up from Boston buying houses at a fire sale. What a bargain they got. We don't have an ocean. And I don't think that there's that many people who are going to kill themselves to get up here on the Connecticut River. So, but there are going to be houses for sale. And if we don't do all of this, including sell our houses, get these houses sold smartly, we all suffer for it. Because the value of our homes is going to deteriorate very quickly. So that's another avenue that I've been working on, is trying to work, we have been working on, the Select Board has been working on, how to get our houses marketed, get them sold, get jobs, which I don't know if you've noticed, but there's not a whole lot of people knocking on the door of the state of Vermont running in here to do business, but help these people find
Well,
jobs
I mean,
and straighten
you
their
know,
lives.
A lot of the guys at VY, I've got the same job qualifications.
Mhm.
And I'm in a place where I've got to begin to look for work,
Mhm.
and there's nothing. There's absolutely
The day they announced Vermont Yankee was closing, I bought the newspaper, which I think it's no secret to anybody that I don't usually get the newspaper, because I don't usually agree with what's in it. But I did buy the newspaper that day. And just, you know, I mean, we were all saddened. We were all walking around. I mean, I felt like I was at a funeral all day on Tuesday. So it affected all of us in the community. So I was sitting there that night reading all the articles, or I guess it was Wednesday, I was reading all the articles. And just for the fun of it, I went to the Help Wanted page. There were 3 positions. One was for 30 apple pickers in Maine. One was for a part-time person to help take care of an elderly person. And one was a headhunter organization that had 3 or 4, oh no, I'm sorry, there was 4 jobs. The 4th one was for a rebar bender, which I don't know what that is. That was the Help Wanted ads. So we are in trouble.
Well, I'm thinking at the very least, we can talk to VY and see what they want us as a town to do in response to WRC. We need to respond to them. And I don't even think that they speak for the people in some of the outlying towns. You gotta remember, Brattleboro's losing as many employees, or as many jobs as we are in this town. Of course, you know, population-wise, percentage-wise, that's a lot less to them than it is to us.
There are 43 houses in Vernon that are attributed to the plant. Now, not all of them will leave. Some of them, the spouse, you know, works there in admin. I don't know if that person is going to be offered a job in another plant, but the husband has a good job and they're not going anywhere. West Chesterfield has 20.
Yeah, there's almost 80 employees, because the WRC sent out a thing last week. There's almost 80 employees in this town that work there full-time right now.
Wyndham Regional, West Chesterfield has 20 homes that will go up for sale. So this is not something that's affecting Vernon.
Oh,
This
no,
is
no,
something
no.
that's
I know
affecting
it's
the
affecting
region.
other outlying towns, and that's why I'm saying Wyndham Regional should be speaking for everyone
No.
and their constituents.
Mhm.
And I think that they're speaking, you know, loosely from
One person.
yeah, for
And-
2.
Yeah.
And, you know, you know, that kind of language certainly isn't gonna fare this town well with the new plant. Because if you keep backing them into a corner, they're gonna stay safe there. And
The
thing
difference is, though, when you know the history of what's gone on here, Vernon has a wonderful relationship with Entergy, a wonderful relationship with Entergy, and we have for years. We've always been fair to them, we've never tried to extort them, and they know that. So they will be keeping Vernon in mind as they make the decisions. Now, will there be debates back and forth? I'm sure there will be, because that's the nature of the business that we're in. But we can't, I have contacted the Commissioner of Labor. They're gonna have to come down here and they're gonna have to help people. Entergy has already got a process going so that when the plant closes, they're gonna work with people who aren't transferring somewhere else and writing their resumes and help them looking for jobs. So there's a lot, even though it seems like everybody's just sitting there, there's a lot in the process already. Especially for the short amount of time we've known about this, there's a ton of stuff that's already been put in process. I don't want to deal with Wyndham Regional, but we may have to.
Well, I think, you know, one of the issues, I understand, David, that maybe, I haven't read the letter, I'll confess, but I can understand that maybe some of it was undiplomatic and Vernon probably should clarify.
Well, they're demanding that the new plant do this.
Well, it's undiplomatic. Yeah, when you make a demand that you have no authority or whatever, and so worded a little nicely, but to clarify Vernon's position is, no, WRC is not gonna be 100% speak for us. I mean, we have to speak for ourselves, and to clarify it, you know, that, yeah, over the last couple of years, you know, we've had some differences of opinion with WRC, but I think going forward that, you know, sometimes people who aren't your friends, you can get some help from.
Oh, I'm not saying break ties, but at the same time, I mean, you know, I think we should scream loudly to them that, hey, look, if you want to help us out, if you want to help these employees out, don't make waves.
But you know, some of the issues they're talking about, we're going to have to deal with. As a town, do we want the plant to go to Safe Store? Do we want it to sit there for 65 years? Or do we want it decommissioned? You know, those are issues we have to deal with. Now, they're federal laws, so there's nothing we can do about it. At the end of the day, the federal law allows the nuclear power plant to go into Safe Store and sit there for 65 years. We can't change that. But we certainly can have our voice heard. We have to have that conversation.
We have to have that conversation.
Because none of us speak for the entire town.
In a diplomatic way.
Absolutely.
In a way that isn't offensive to VY and doesn't put them in a place where they go, okay, to hell with it.
And when it comes time, we will, because we've always done that with VY.
I mean, even
They know.
because they're closing, we still want to keep a good approach with them.
Absolutely.
And, you know, they're still friends.
David, I've spent my entire political career working for this time. I've built a very good relationship with many people at Vermont Yankee that we will have to deal with now. And I'm not talking about the people that are in this plant.
Right.
I'm talking about people in Louisiana and people in White Plains.
Sure.
And we will continue to do that because it's what Vernon does. We are fair and ethical when we deal with people, and we'll continue to do that. Anybody else? You know, I know these are trying times, and I know everybody's scared, but we will get through this. We will manage this. Our taxes will be brought in line. We'll still have a beautiful town. We'll still have wonderful people. We'll still have, you know, neighbors stopping at their next door neighbor's house to walk their dog because the neighbor can't do it themselves. That's the important thing at the end of the day, and we will continue to have that.
Has anybody on the board even heard from Sanders, Leahy, or Welch? I mean, do we get no support from the people that we elect to our offices? I mean, I haven't seen Schulman running down here to grant us a check like he did the Colford store or anybody else. Do they just not show up in Vernon?
There's probably not enough.
I mean, he said, Schulman just said in the newspaper that he wants a better relationship now with Yankee. How's it going to happen when he told everybody our fish was poisoned?
That's right, that's the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, after telling everybody our fish were poisoned in the river and writing those reports, how could they not come down and support Vernon when Vernon has cashed in for the state for how long by hosting a nuclear plant? How could they not show up at all?
Why don't you call the governor's office and
I'd
ask
be
them
glad to
that?
tell the reformer if they'd answer my letters, but they won't because they're too busy printing Howard's letters about what we should do with our green field we're going to have. Okay, good stuff.
Oh, Will's been in there too.
Oh, sorry. But
Actually,
have
that was
any
not a
heard from
stupid
our
letter.
listeners? Have they even bothered to call to express anything for the town?
Mike Hebert, yes.
Oh, but Mike's great. There's a difference. He's our people. I'm talking people that have gone on that great stage and off the Leahy plantation up there up north. I mean, I haven't heard a word about what they're going to do for us. They haven't even shown up and say to the people, we're really sorry about what you're going through. Can somebody open a store here so we could renovate it, so we could get a check and they could show up for a photo op in the town or something? I mean, I just feel like we're being ignored by the state.
Well, you know, the Department of Labor will have to be involved in this because there will be displaced workers that are gonna have to find jobs. So there will be time when the state,
Well, there's a new election at 214, isn't there, for them, 216? They'll be showing up
I
to.
don't remember when they run, I
They'll
don't
be
do it
showing up to
anymore, so I
campaign
remember.
during the closing.
They don't show up here.
Oh, sorry.
No, our senator actually made a statement to the newspaper that she was happy the plant was closed, and that's the last I've heard from our senators.
Yeah, well, they didn't mention my call either when I called.
Okay,
Executive session, contractual personnel.
thank you for coming. And Janice, I will remember you, we will have jobs for you, so thank you for stepping up.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna stay as trustee.
Yes, I wanted to say it publicly. Second, please.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, go
I don't know
into
if I should
executive session on
speak
a
or not.
contractual matter.
On a contractual, I heard
Contractual personnel is what she
matter.
said.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
With,
Oh, Sally and Janice Pereira.
JNIS. Pereira.
Oh, not C.
oh,
Yes,
got it, thank you.
I spelt it. Wrong.
You spelled it wrong.
I spelt it Janic. Okay, we just came out of executive session, which we entered in at
7:46.
7:46, came out at 9:30. No action was taken. And the next on the agenda is payment schedule for Wind Ridge Builders. I believe all we have to do is ratify, what we did was we made a mistake, and we then, because we called it Woodbridge.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right,
And then and then on an email, we okayed Carol to change the minutes to Wind Ridge. So we have to say, we have to ratify our action via email
Okay.
to allow Carol to change that from Woodbridge to Wind Ridge. That's all. That's the motion that needs
So
to be
what
done.
the motion should say,
Because what happened was, is she put it, the draft minutes, or the minutes to come out, or before they came out, she had put Woodridge, because that's what we said. And then we sent an email around, or she did, to ask us what to do, and three of us said, go ahead and change it to Wind Ridge, and we'll ratify that action at the next meeting.
So moved.
second.
And moved and seconded to ratify the,
Motion
Change.
of August
The,
19th.
Yes.
what's her name?
Carol?
Well, no, it's her position, the select board secretary.
Secretary.
It's late. To change
From Woodridge to Wind Ridge Builders.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I think what happened is there was a typo on the second bid. It wasn't what we said.
No,
There was a typo on the bid.
Right, but we did call them Woodridge, and it should have been
And
Wind
to,
Ridge.
and to accept the payment schedule?
And to accept
Yes.
the payment schedule.
Yes.
Okay, VLCT is gonna be having their town meeting again,
Town
Jeff?
fair.
A town fair, I think you went to it last year, I think you were the voting member for the select board. Are you interested in going to the town fair again this year? Okay. Can you please be our town voter?
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure, I tried to do the best I could as a representative.
I'm
She did a good job.
And you know, the town bus is going to that in October?
We
the one
were
in
going
October.
to use the town van. Remember, all of us were gonna go, but
Killington?
Killington.
Killington.
Yeah.
I can't go.
Could you send in, now how are we gonna work this? Because you used to always send in the application
Right.
or the form, so.
The forms, we have the forms though, right?
Could you send it in and Sally, could you cut a check for it? So we need
Yep.
to approve Sally cutting a check for it. And it is, somewhere in here I have the cost of it.
You know, when it's the
Yeah, does anybody else want to go? Because it's open to all of you. We
When
have
is it?
It is Monday, September 30th. No,
No.
no, that's when the.
No, it's October.
October 3rd.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday. That's good for you.
They
It's
do
a
have
fun
the-
day. They have vendors there that show, different.
You go get free junk. I mean, free stuff. I'm on
I'll
TV.
check my schedule, but can I let you guys know? I've never been.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure if I can go for sure.
Any town official that would like to attend, would we pay for them? to
Was that the
attend?
same?
There's a
Oh, okay.
motion being,
Okay, Sandy
Do I have
made
a
a
second?
motion to,
Any town official that would like to attend the town fair, be authorized to attend and pay.
to authorize
I'll
any.
second
town-
that, but if you put a timeline that they need
They
to,
have to let you know before,
because it's Thursday,
September,
30th.
The registration, I think,
I think it's-
cheaper one is like by the 13th of September.
Of September.
Okay, so by the 13th.
That's when they have to have.
So preferably then by the 12th, because 13th is a Friday and the town offices are closed.
Well, actually,
But
let's
they have
say,
to have payment.
let's
They
say
have
the
to-
Yeah.
10th.
So the 10th?
Yes.
Or 9th, what makes it more convenient for you? That gives everybody almost a week to decide they want to go.
Let
Yes.
Sally know.
Authorize any town.
Well, Katrina, because she's going to do the paperwork, and then she needs to get in touch with Sally right away. How's that sound?
It's fine.
Yeah? By the 9th.
Thursday, October 3rd.
And
Here.
if there's going to be a car full of
You have
people
that?
going up and the band's not going, you might want to talk to each other about carpooling. Okay, do we have anything for the 2014 municipal policy to discuss?
There is, the policy is there.
Mm-hmm.
And VLCT had just asked that you guys look at it, which
We have.
you have, and see if there was anything that you guys, that stood out that you wanted to change, or thought should be changed, or it's really just in its draft form anyways.
I didn't, I'll be honest, I did not look at this, so.
You can just email them any changes you don't have to say that.
Yeah.
Okay,
there's no-
so I mean,
They didn't need any
whoa,
vote,
wait a
they
minute.
just
Oh, they-
needed you to kind of, know that it went before the board for you
Okay.
guys to look at.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at it, I'm sorry, but, yeah. But we need to do a voting delegate, right?
That would be
That
Jeff.
would be Jeff,
That would be
right?
Jeff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, then I'm all set with that one.
Okay. All right, do we have anything else?
We're not gonna discuss, we didn't, I thought we were gonna discuss this, well, I'll get there. That letter,
No, the attorney?
yes.
We were, but the listers never showed up.
The auditors.
auditors
So
never showed up.
what do we just keep on letting these things go on and on?
No,
If
we're
they
going to
don't
send
show
them a
up?
letter and CC of the attorney's letter.
Yeah, because we need to have that, I mean,
We have a couple
there's
of
one
issues
thing
that need
to
to
be,
be
to
ended.
do your job, but there's another to be aggressive and be overzealous, exactly.
And there's
It's
still,
not even overzealous anymore. It definitely falls under, I don't know about you, but in my research, it definitely falls under, for me, under harassment.
Well, I believe there is,
on the cemetery committee side.
yes.
Okay, then let's just, if that's what you're here for to discuss,
Well, I
then,
mean, no, but
No.
I didn't know that they wouldn't be here.
I didn't either.
We didn't either.
I don't think we should discuss it without them, I mean, unless we want to go in executive session, but, because it is a part of them, but I just wondered what we can do, because something has to be done. This isn't just the cemetery, there's other people, employees, that feel like they've been harassed as well, and that needs to stop. I mean, I get that we, you know, I don't, well, actually, I don't get it at all, I guess.
No, I agree with you. I don't get it at all. I've looked through open meeting laws, I've looked through a whole bunch of things, and I cannot find where something was, in my opinion, and only my opinion, I can't find where something was done inappropriately.
There wasn't anything done inappropriately. The problem is you've got some people that are too close to the situation and their friend didn't get the bid, and that's what's angered people. The select board went into executive session with the cemetery committee to discuss bids. We do it all the time. We've done it quite
Contract,
often. In fact, I
yes.
talked to David Walker today, because I remembered one specific one with him, because I was, you know, when you get letters like this, you start backtracking and go, did we do something wrong? I mean, I knew we had fulfilled every part of the law when we went into executive session. And we've gone into executive session during the bid process with other department heads and committee chairs to discuss the different people who had placed a bid and why that person felt this one or that one was better suited for that job.
Right.
And come out and just made a vote without explaining to anyone. We discuss things in executive session because we're doing it to protect the town. You can't sit in a public meeting.
Protect those other people.
Right, it says here,
Their
but-
businesses and everything else.
It says, because it may be detrimental to the town and/or the individual or individuals involved. We cannot harm a business intentionally.
We had 3 fences that needed to be painted. 2 bids came in. One of the bids even said on the big fence that they weren't going, the Tyler fence, they weren't going to put a bid in. That raises a red flag when somebody says something, and I'm only going to say what's public record, because the bid is public record now. One fence was very, very big, 2 fences were smaller. We gave the big fence to a painting company. Yes, it was $7,000 more than the bid by the single person. But this town has invested thousands and thousands of dollars into that fence. It needs to be painted this year. One person cannot paint 2 little fences and a
I know
fence that
that.
size.
Because I tried.
We did what
She
is
tried.
by law our duty, responsibility, and job to do. I don't backtrack on one single bit of it. We didn't need to discuss what we discussed in executive session in an open meeting, because you don't discuss contractors in an open meeting.
Right.
We made the decision that was suggested by the chair but agreed upon by the rest of the select board. Now, I have asked, there's also an issue about sending an email, memorandum, whatever it's called, to a person who pretty much volunteers in this town, but volunteers for a $2,500 stipend. That person was sent an email, which is now public record because it was emailed to everyone else, so I can discuss it, was sent to that person, asking that person what he did for his $2,500. So to list this has happened to be a health official, so to list every house he had gone to and why he had gone to that house. It has never been instructed for the health officer to do that. The stipend is exactly that, and you couldn't pay me enough money to go rid an apartment of bed bugs or go walk through somebody's overrun septic system. That's what the health officer does, okay? They fulfill their duty quickly, responsibly, and in a great way for this town. I and the rest of the select board greatly appreciate what's being done.
And in a way that with the understanding of what a stipend means.
Right.
What the word means.
I sent an email to the auditor's office asking them to not be harassing people who are pretty much volunteering for this town, and that their job is to audit, our job is to govern. And I was told that they're the auditors, they can do anything they want. that it's their responsibility to make sure that people are doing the job for the money. So rather than tit for tat and have emails going back and forth, we asked the attorney, when he was here last week, to read the emails and give us his professional opinion. Now, I spent a lot of years in statute, writing statute. We can all twist statute to sound any way we want. You can pick and choose a sentence here and a sentence there and distort it so it sounds like it's, just like we want it to do. Problem is, there's a lengthy statute that pertains to the auditor's office. And as the attorney said, the auditor's office is arithmetic. It says, the auditor must show a detailed statement of financial condition of such town and school district for the fiscal year, a classified summary of receipts and expenditures, a list of all outstanding orders and payables more than 30 days past due, and show any deficit as described in 24 VSA 1523. There are additional duties specific to trust funds, outstanding bonds, and interest-bearing orders. It is important, and I'm only reading paragraphs. I will send this letter on to the auditors. I had planned to give it to them tonight, but they were not here. It is important to understand that the auditor's function is limited to accounting and finance. For example, the auditors may and should look at whether financial statements received from other officers accurately represent the financial condition of the town, determine the legality and accuracy of these transactions, not asking somebody what they've done with their time, and whether such transactions have been properly recorded. The auditors are not, however, to substitute their judgment of that for that of the department heads whose jobs include the supervision and management of the operation of the town and its employees. That's what our job is. As select board members elected by the townspeople, it is our job to govern. So it's our responsibility to make sure that people are fulfilling their duties. The duties have nothing to do with the monetary function, nothing. So I am asking the auditors to stop sending emails to people before we all are pretty much volunteers all walk out the door and say you're on your own, because without a health officer, we're in trouble.
Right, it's my understanding though that it did go from emails to a
Personal
letter,
letters.
and I had one committee
Personal
member
letters.
who was very
You didn't put it
upset
down.
that she received a letter, and in that letter it says that a letter was also sent to me, and this is dated August 19th, and I have yet to receive it, and that's fine, but I haven't received it. But I had one committee member who was very upset that received it.
And my understanding is that committee member, unfortunately, has not lived in town very long, just bought a house, was trying to involve herself in the community and do good for the community, found out 2 days before she received the letter that her husband was going to be out of a job. She has 2 small children.
Yep.
Now, here again, we have somebody who's volunteering for the town, getting letters that are upsetting and insulting, and it will not be tolerated. There is an official duty that the select board has and an official duty that the auditors have. They do not mix. We have no right to tell the auditors how to audit their books. They work with Sally and they work very well, and we appreciate the job that they're doing. They have no right to tell us how to govern this town. If they want to do that, they need to run for select board. And I am going to instruct all employees and all committee chairs to only hand over financial statements that the auditors need, and not ever to tell the auditors who's working what, when, where, how, and why. Those are our questions to ask. End of story. Do I make myself clear?
Amen.
I guess so.
This
I'm
town
scared.
has way too many things to deal with in the next year for this garbage to continue to go on. It has to stop. We need to start working together as a team for the betterment of this town, and not harass people who are willing to spend their leisurely time volunteering for this town.